Kamiko.
It's Nikki.
And it's Marcia. And welcome to the LoveChat podcast.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It is time for a quick conversation, also known as a Minisode, also known as a heart-to-heart. In the words of our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Yes.
Get back on what track? It's a whole new track. It's not going back. It's just all different, and it's different forever. It's not about getting back on track. It's about creating my next track, which I thought was one of the best quotes. As always, for those of you who are our faithful listeners, and even if you are new to the podcast, as always, there may be a little shade, there may be a little sunshine, but we always try to mix in a little love.
Yay!
For those of you who are watching us out in YouTube land, guess what? As you can see, we have guests today.
Yay!
So with that, Jelani, who do you have today?
Sure. So my guest is my long-term friend, Erica. Believe it or not, we've been friends for well over 18 years. I can speak that for sure because her oldest child just committed to go to Fisk University, and I remember the day he was born. So, so I'm excited that you could join us today.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And I have my good friend and soror, Stacey. Y'all may have heard me talk about Stacey on the podcast before. Stacey is my Harry Potter friend. She's also the book reader that reads 3 books at a time. So that's Stacey, y'all.
All right,
so I'm
Stacey.
so happy to have her. And we also have her lovely daughter, Kai.
Hi,
Kai.
And Kai
I love that Kai's in a closet. I love it. I love it.
And Kai is a student at Howard University.
HBC.
Shout out to HBC.
Yes. So we definitely want to have her on the show and just get her perspective from, that generation.
So if you can't tell, this week's episode, or this week's Heart to Heart, focuses on becoming. So let me go ahead and say, spoiler alert, if you have not watched the Netflix documentary Becoming, if you have not listened to our first episode, Becoming, which was about a year ago, go back
check it out.
Listen to that and all the other ones, but go back and listen to that. And we're going to talk about Becoming tonight because we are excited.
Yes. I will have to say, y'all, when it came on, I was just smiling like, oh my God, it's Michelle. Like, I
thought the song choice, like her song choice was very
really
fitting
good.
for the
Kirk Franklin. I was like, oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For that beat dropping, I was like, yes, music director, whoever you are, I gotta look it up and see who. But the music was really good throughout.
Yes, but the fact that she said sometimes you just need to bump. I'm like, see, that's why she is our forever First Lady. She gets it.
She definitely gets it.
So let's see. We've all read the book.
Yes.
So let me just say this for our listeners and viewers. We've all read the book. We all attended the tour.
Yeah. Wait. Let me just say thank you to Stacey because she got me and Nikki tickets to go to the tour.
Erica's the reason why I went to the tour, so shout out to Erica.
I'm the reason my village went to the tour.
I felt like that was the most exclusive ticket on the planet to get.
It was like Willy Wonka.
Right.
Every time I saw footage of her in Atlanta, I was like, I was there.
Right.
Who else was scanning, looking like, do I see us? Do I see us?
Girl, we was way up
we were way to top, though.
Yeah.
But we were there.
Trying not to move.
Right.
We were in the room where it happened, okay?
Okay, Hamilton.
It fits every conversation.
So what I want to know, let me go back because I thought the tour was great. I thoroughly enjoyed being in that arena. It felt like it was just me and Michelle, although I know it wasn't just me.
The energy was amazing.
It was.
The space was amazing. And I felt like I am surrounded, not necessarily like I'm surrounded by people who are all here in support of not only her and Barack, but it's in support of, I feel like, moving the country forward. And I was just like, look at all of these people who are like-minded for the most part in this one space coming together. And for me, that was a very powerful thing.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
For sure.
How did you guys feel at the tour?
Why don't one of our guests speak on it?
Okay.
Well, I agree with you, Jelani. I walked in and I'm like, this arena is jam-packed. And of course, I had a great view to see where it was because I was so high up. With people that, you know, clearly had to love Michelle and love what she stood for. And then you looking around, just at not just Black women, but all these women.
Right.
There was really a lot of women that were bonded together in that moment. And in that moment, we weren't Black or white or moms and not moms or working and from home and not working. You know, we were just women in there supporting each other in that moment. And I felt like probably halfway through it, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not in my living room just having this conversation with her by myself. I felt like that's what I was doing.
Yeah. What about you, Stacey?
I think she had a way, even in that huge arena, and you really couldn't see her because she was so tiny. We were so high up.
I know, right?
But even watching her on the screen, you still felt like she was talking to you. It was still felt very personal and very familiar. And you kind of forgot, like Erica was saying, that you were with however many thousands of people with you.
I have to agree.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we all weren't sitting together. Well, like Erica and I were together. I know y'all were with Stacey. It's like we all weren't together, but we had very similar experiences. I did run into Kamiko in the hallway at the tour. But I also felt like, I was like, this is my tribe of people in here. Like, if we had to, we could take over the world.
Seriously.
Ladies, look, ladies and men that were in the
because there was some men
there were
in there, definitely, for sure.
When we saw the doc, I really saw how many men were there because I didn't even realize it was that many men.
Right. And I mean, to tell you the truth, my husband is upstairs right now watching the documentary. He was so mad that I had to watch it earlier. I was like, I have to watch this for the podcast. So he's like, you're not gonna wait for me? No, I'm not gonna wait for you. So yeah, he's watching it now. Everybody loves the show.
Yep. Even though they did not read the book. Todd did watch it with me this morning. But I was like, you're not gonna read the book? I didn't read the book. I listened to the book. Shout out to Nikki and Loria who convinced me to listen to it because I kind of had a hard time getting through the beginning. And every time I would try to read it, I was just having a hard time with it. But the audio book, it was amazing. That was my first audio book too, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
Right.
Erica, did you read the book?
I did both because you know that's who I am. Because
Erica and Nikki are
right.
Erica, Nikki, and Stacey.
But I didn't. It was because of Marcia that I listened to the book because I was having a hard time reading it.
Oh, okay.
Y'all are welcome.
Now, what about Kai? Kai, did you read it or did you listen to it?
I read it. So I was at my grandparents' house for I was at my grandparents' house over winter break, and like my grandma, she just had the book, and I think it was like sitting on her bed or something, and I just read it, and she was like, "Make sure you get it back."
But you're in school. You got that muscle for reading.
Right. And shout out to you for being the youngest one who actually read the book.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
I had to listen for sure.
So, were you able to just get into it and? Like, it was hard for us to get started. That's why we had to go and listen.
I feel like the reason why I was able to get through it was because I feel like I was going through like a time like in my life where like I feel like I needed to read it basically. So, you know, it was such a long book. Like, it took me like 2 weeks, but like I was flipping through it because like what she was saying in the book was like really speaking to me. And
okay.
So yeah, like I got through it. Like 2.5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, well, you know, that's really deep to say because it seemed as if even through the Netflix documentary that she touched a lot of young college students. Like when she was here, I know she was at Spelman. She went to visit Spelman, and then it seems like on the tour that was like one of her main things was to reach out to the younger generation.
Right.
So that's great that you actually was one of those that Got it. So do you feel like you gained a lot from it, or?
Yeah, like I still think about, okay, it was like this one quote she said in the book. It was something along the lines like, if you don't define yourself for you, then you'll be
defined by others.
Yes, by others.
Don't let others define you. Yeah.
And I still think about that quote like every day, because I feel like every day I'm I'm working towards that, like defining myself for myself. So like whenever she said that, I literally felt like a light just went off, and I think about that quote like every day. So
yeah,
it definitely definitely changed my look on myself, like how, and like my confidence towards myself. And yeah, I'm really grateful I read it at that time in my life, basically, because like it was the middle of my first year in college, like I'm away, I'm literally trying to figure out who I am. So
lots of change.
Well, I think that's very telling, because, when you're in college or your freshman year, you're in that, between fall and spring semester, people are asking you, what do you want to major in? You don't know what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. I mean, and that same feeling that you have when people are asking you that question, people are still asking us that question at our age. Like, well, who are you? Where do you work? What do you do? Is that all you want to do? Like, and so I think that's what made the book and the story so relatable, because people, the sentiment about feeling invisible is something that you feel when you're 5, 7, 18, even now I'm 38 and I sometimes feel invisible. So it was a feeling that I think crossed a lot of ages and generations, and just the need to, or people telling us that we need to define ourselves, and her saying that, it is important for you to define yourself, because somebody else will do it for you, and then you will be stuck in that box.
I think another really important point with Michelle is just the fact that it's not, I think one of you said it earlier, it's not just Black women, white women. They're older, younger. She just touches so many different people who are at different socioeconomic levels, just at every different point in life. One of my favorite parts was when she was talking to the older women in the Black church in the documentary.
Yeah.
So touching. And I thought about that older woman that said, I just never thought I would see that. And my grandmother didn't see it. She loved Barack Obama, but she died right before his election. And I thought about, like, it just brought tears to my eyes seeing that woman talk about, I just never thought I'd see that happen. It just bless you both and everything. But it was just one of those things that whether old or young, Michelle Obama just makes herself so relatable to really everyone who is open and progressive, and there's so many wonderful things I just could say about her. It's just
I think that was like really important to her, because even when she was talking about like the girls and bringing the girls into the White House, and how when she went to visit Laura Bush and they all had on tuxedos, and she was like, my daughters cannot live in a house where Black men and brown men serve them in tuxedos every day. That's not going to happen. That's not realistic for them. And I think what she tries to do is keep herself very grounded and very humble. And she wants to make sure that her daughters have that, because she could have very well left it that way. They had to make up their own beds, but she was very intentional.
Right.
Because I'm sure it would have been easier to leave things as they were.
Yeah. Or take it to a different extreme.
Right.
One thing that I
probably where it is now
really love about Michelle Obama, and what she conveyed in the documentary as well, and when she does interviews, that whenever she sees a young person or a child, she always wants to impart something very positive, speak something into them, so they can counter anything negative that's been said to them, and also a vessel, and just an example of, you can go to Ivy League if you want to, you can become the first lady if you want to, you can do, be a CEO, whatever you want to do. Like, I am a living example that, you can do it. And these people that go to these Ivy League schools are not smarter than you.
Right. I love that she said that. But I think too, and I know we're focusing on Michelle, but of course, Barack, we got to bring him in too. I think that his entire campaign and who he is and who she is builds us up on hope. That they give us that feeling of hope. They gave the country that feeling of hope, and we can do it, and we can get through it, and we, and it's like, she kind of mentioned it a little bit. I know she didn't hit too much on our current presidency, but she did touch a little bit on, it's sad that we don't have, it's almost like the country has lost that hope. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea of hope for so many people, like, I love that was, you know, his campaign slogan.
Right.
Hope and change.
Because I think that's the thing that everybody is looking for. Well, most people are looking for, right? We hope that there's a different experience. We hope that we can change for people. We hope that, you know, we can make a path better for our children. We hope that we can leave something better than we found it. And so that idea, I think, was there, and it was there in all of us. And to just have somebody at that level with that platform say it,
right,
I think was what allowed us to grab onto it so quickly.
Yeah, but I agree. I just love that they are so down to earth. You know, she's like, I'm from South Side of Chicago. It is what it is, basically. And even to y'all, okay. So in the documentary, I'm noticing, you know, she has a very mixed group of her. Who is the girl that
her handlers,
staff, right?
Chief of staff,
right. But who was doing her hair though?
Oh yeah,
you saw that golden hot. You saw that golden hot. I saw that. I was like, look at that hot curl right there. Yes, Michelle.
Yeah.
Girl, I had to chuckle a little bit on that one. That was funny. But I was like, yes, honey, yes. For sure.
I also loved in the documentary that she was, even though she's lived in the White House, you know, she's gotten all this fame and money, that she went back to her childhood home.
I love that.
You know, sitting in her daddy's chair, you know, just like she hadn't got too high to, you know, go back to her old house and just be comfortable and not act like she don't want to touch nothing or, you know, I really like that.
Well, I think, you know, shout out to Michelle Obama's mom and her parents in general, but especially her mom, because her mom, she was like, if nothing gonna keep me humble, my mama gonna keep me humble. I know my brother is her favorite child. And, you know, we at the White House, but she like, but when Craig gonna get here? Has anybody seen Craig? And so if anything, you know, one of the things, and I think Nikki, you were touching on it a little bit, but one of the things that she said when she was talking to these young girls is that, you know, I had my parents who spoke life into me and kept me from ever feeling invisible. So I feel like whenever, like Nikki said, how she would go, whenever she sees young people, she always speaks something positive over them, because maybe you don't have a parent who's going to be able to speak that kind of positivity into you. But if I come across you, you can't say that nobody ever said anything like that to you, because I said it to you if even nobody else did. So I think that's kind of one of those lessons for me, is going forward and moving forward. I try to, you know, whether it's my younger cousins or I'm at somebody's school for some reason or other, to always try to speak positivity over young people. And frankly, my friends too, and all of y'all, just, you know, we can do, whether you are 18, 48, 68, if you have a dream, you know, it's not insurmountable.
Right.
Yeah. But that truly is important. I think it is so important to speak positivity into young people's lives and not equate them to one mistake or anything, because you don't know who they can be. And then one time you speak one negative thing, that can change the trajectory of their life. And so what I really love about Michelle so much is that she always is like, you can do it, you know, you have.
And then look at the counselor that told her, you know,
in the book,
that like, I'm still a little salty about it.
Right. That she wasn't good enough for that school. And think about if she would have taken that in and been like, oh, okay, well, the counselor said it, so maybe I can't go, you know, and she didn't. She took that and she used that for her power and her strive to want to go even more.
Right, exactly.
And that's one thing that I know that I try to do is, you know, when you encounter something negative, you can use that as your fuel to get you to where you want to go. And I like how, back when you were saying how she said she was taught that she wasn't invisible at her dining room table.
Right.
But since a lot of people don't have that, and they can't go out and look around like she did, said, you know, I know who I am. You can't do that. I love how she, like you said, did it with the older women, with the little girl that was in line at the book tour. She was so excited just to look at Michelle Obama. You know, she was about what?
Me
8,
too.
9,
From 50 feet up.
right,
right. Feet up.
And she'll never forget that. You know, you never know what that's going to propel her to. Just having Michelle say that to her.
I don't know. I don't know about everybody. Well, I know for Erica because I know her, but like, you know, most people now don't get together, sit down and have dinner like that. Right?
Right.
And, you know, I know Erica has told stories about how, like, when they were younger, they would have to, like, read articles and talk about them at dinner. You know, when she was growing up. I still remember that about you. But, you know, I think that, you know, the fact that Michelle had that in her family, in her home environment. Like, I just think nowadays we're like, you want to go to Chick-fil-A? Or you want
but I'm
a pushback on that too.
Right, I have to disagree because for me, that's how I was raised. Like my mom fixed my dad's plate and fixed everybody's plate. More so for portion control, I'm sure, because we probably would have ate too much. But she would fix everyone's plate, and we would all sit down for dinner. So that's what I do with my family. And even if we are going to Chick-fil-A, because, you know, we going to eat out every now and again, we still sit down together. And it may be some days where we don't, but for the majority, we sit down and we eat. Now, I'm not making her read. I'm not making my child read articles. I do make her put her phone down.
Right.
But
I think that,
interesting, because I had McKinney. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I had my daughter. I have a 17-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son, and that became our summer reading book for them last year. And so they had assigned it by chapters, and that's what we talked about over dinner.
What? Now McKinney she's the young lady that was on before. Oh, okay. Well, you have a special child, honey, because I'm telling you, McKinney is, honey, she is something special.
She is.
She really
My
is.
child, she ain't gonna read it. I could.
Well, it was funny because, of course, you know, with kids, it was like, oh, we got to do summer reading. We already got our own schoolwork.
Right.
But as they got into it, I found that they were the ones pushing the conversation. So where I might have been like, okay, we can skip tonight. We'll talk. No, Mommy, I'm ready for it. Let's talk about it. And knowing that she uses, she's still using stuff from that time frame, and she's mentioning quotes and still saying stuff. And then my son, who's going off to college, I had him read it too. You know, it's you know, we always think about Michelle as being this pillar of strength for women. You know, I needed my son to see that as an example as well.
Wow.
You know, and so I love that we all sat down, we read it together. And then the further surprise was when the summer reading list came out for her language arts class, it was on there. You know, you know, and so now I'm like validated in the school choice that we made for her, because you know, open and progressive to this is what we have on there. But to be able to hold, not just hold Michelle Obama, but also Barack Obama up to my children as examples. There were points in the book where I was validated in my parenting, because I was like, yes, you know, like, we do this. This is what my mom did with me. This is what I'm doing with them. You know, it made a difference. And I still kind of think that, okay, Michelle does this, I'm good, you know?
Right. And Michelle got spankings, and I spank I used to. They bigger than me now, but so now my child is gonna be mad at you, Erica, because I'm about to make her read the book now. So.
But it'll be good for her. She got a whole lot of reading to do when she goes to school, so get ready for it. At least it'll be something that she enjoys.
Right.
Did a lot of your friends read the book? Do you know?
One of my best friends read it, but other than that, no. Like, I talked with her about it though, but other than that, not a lot of my friends.
You should try to inspire them to at least listen to it,
or even watch the Netflix documentary, because I mean, I personally felt like if you read the book, if you went to see her, you got some nuggets here and there, but it was just basically an overview. But a lot of, even though all of us got to go see her, most people did not get to go see her. Y'all know those tickets were like, you know, needle in a haystack.
Girl,
and so for people who didn't get to see, look, seriously, we have a song every episode, y'all. It's no different.
I thought that this episode we weren't gonna have a song, because I was like,
no, you know, Marcia gonna pull a rabbit out of her head.
I thought somebody was gonna open with the Kirk Franklin, but you know, okay.
Chocolate Factory,
girl.
No. But yeah, so you know, we sit from a point of privilege on this podcast because we got to see her, but most people didn't. So they got a small glimpse into what we experienced. And I think Nikki said it earlier. They had all kind of Atlanta footage up and through there. Shout out to Gail King too. It was,
right.
but you know, we record all kind of stuff in Atlanta because we have the best equipment. People always record their concerts here.
Yeah, and so with that, so the documentary was good, and I would watch it again and again because I just love. I love seeing the Obamas, but it was almost like I was so hyped because even on GMA, they were all like, "Oh, the first interview with Sasha and Malia," and da-da-da-da. Right. So I was so hyped about this documentary, and then I was like, "That's the same thing that they said at the tour." But I forget most people didn't get to go to the tour, so
right.
Well, and then I was expecting like a full, like, I need like 15 minutes with Sasha and Malia.
Right.
I was in there like,
that's it.
I thought they were gonna do a little bit of question and answer, kind of how Michelle, you know how the housewives sit up and do the question and answer thing. I thought they would do something like that.
That's not us, boo.
Right.
But you know, I love that. I haven't seen the documentary. I've seen some bits and pieces, and of course I saw the different media outlets discussing it. They have been so steadfast about protecting their children and not making children part of the media frenzy of it all.
Right.
I like that they're still doing that. And these are young ladies now, but they're still doing that. So I respected that.
Yeah.
There's another celebrity, I think he's a recording artist. I can't remember who it is. But he said that he has gone through great lengths to make sure that his children are not in the media. And I just think, how hard?
Well, there are a few artists that
like Tyler Perry's son.
People like that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like, and it's not really that hard to do, to be honest, because I think that the people who really want their kids out of it, you don't ever see them. You don't see Kerry Washington's kids. You don't see Julia Roberts' kids. Tom Hanks' kids are older now, but you definitely didn't see them when they were kids.
Girl,
so
shout out to his
Julia
cute
Roberts
son.
got kids?
Girl, she got a set of twins.
Oh,
and,
she did have twins. Okay.
But I don't know. In my mind, I think that's a hard thing to do with paparazzi chasing you and the notoriety that you have. And
you don't have to live in LA.
No, but I'm saying like to be the Obamas and like somebody is they have Secret Service, right? So there's that like edge of protection. But I'm just thinking that just seems like an insurmountable task.
I think that spoke to how people respected them. You know, and you had people who didn't. We can talk about that. That's a whole nother show. But I think people respected them for what they wanted and knew that they stood behind it and stood forward, and they didn't push it. They didn't try to make it more than they were going to get from them.
Yeah.
And I think even the places that did try it, because they have tried, I think the pushback,
especially with Malia.
I think the pushback had been so swift by, frankly, the viewing public, because I think most people, even if you're not Obama supporters, understand that these are their children. They did not ask for this, and children are not. If they start getting up there and wanting to work with the Obama administration or things like that as adults, then you're fair game,
right?
But their kids, they're not. They're off limits.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I will say that watching the documentary, watching them go through showing the old footage was very nostalgic.
Yeah, definitely.
And so there were moments like in the beginning, like when they show their initial inauguration and all that kind of stuff, I was like about in tears.
Girl,
look,
I'm
looking up here doing like
chills.
this now because it was so. I think you're so right, Jelani, because I'm looking back on all this and I remember writing in my notes. She's a literal rock star. Like whether it was the stadium tour or even watching back all this footage, like I'm freaking out. I love her. Like,
so let me ask this, because Kai is our youngest guest today. How old was Kai when Barack was inaugurated?
I was like 8 or 9, right?
Do you remember it?
I do remember it. Like, I remember, okay, wasn't I like in your room, Mom, or something like that?
Yeah, we were in the living room, and during the inauguration, yes, we were in the living room, just watching it, just start to finish. I mean, even earlier than that, when election night, I had a map and I was literally coloring in the states red and blue.
Yes, I remember that.
You would.
I do remember that. I do remember that.
Yeah, I'm that person. And
Oh,
when we were getting close, and when we hit it, it was over. It was over. I think I called everybody.
Girl, we was out honking our horn, just acting ignorant.
Oh my
So
God.
let me tell y'all this funny story. So shout out to my friend, I call her coworker, Dr. LaQuela Coleman. And she and I worked together at West Georgia, where I also met Erica. But do y'all remember, it was a song, I think it was a Rick Ross song, My President is Black, My Lambo is Blue. Remember that? The night,
That was Jeezy, wasn't it?
That was Jeezy, yeah.
Yeah.
The night of the election, we were outside, and all of the kids were around campus in their cars, walking around, driving, playing that, chanting that. And I remember she and I were standing there. We were like, we literally are watching history. Like, it was a very like chilling thing. You know, it was like, oh my gosh, kind of like they say, Atlanta got a mayor named Keisha. But it was one of those same feelings, and like everybody was so happy and proud.
So excited.
Yeah,
So excited.
I was in Indiana in law school, and I did the that morning I did the phone. I was calling everybody, asking them to come to the polls. Go to the polls.
Look at you, Nikki.
Yeah, and so then I went to my mentor's house, Doris, and they had a projector screen. We were in the basement, and they just had everybody, and we was just screaming like. I felt like I did something because I was calling.
You did.
Yeah.
Did any of you all go? I did go to the inauguration.
I did
one of my biggest regrets that I did not go.
Yeah, and I also will say, look, I actually had to. What is that, Kamika?
A yard sign.
Oh, Lord.
I
actually got to go to one of the inaugural balls, the military ball, because they go to several.
Right.
But the military ball, my girlfriend was actually working at she was working at the Pentagon, I think, at that time, and she got tickets to go to the military ball, and her husband let me go with her in his place.
Oh, that was very nice.
Because if I had a husband, I'd be like, oh no, boo.
Yeah, he let me go in his place.
But that's another thing that the Obamas showed us, is that good, positive Black love that,
I love. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and Barack Obama's love language is physical touch.
Yes.
I believe, because Michelle Obama always talks about how she had to grow.
Look, Nikki just throwing it out there. That's what I do.
Oh, Nikki's all about love languages.
You know that Nikki has researched this.
And so she says that she had to grow accustomed, but he shows his affection. I love that he is so affectionate towards her. That's a great example of Black love and just, nice affection, good affection, positive affection. So,
but they're also an example of a real marriage, because they also said they had to go to counseling. She was like, I needed the counselor to fix him.
She was like, no, don't be looking at me. Look at him. He needs to fix it, not me.
Talk to him.
Right. And that's real, because marriages go through things, and some choose to fix it. And like Gail said, I tried 5 times to go to a counselor. It ain't worked for me.
Right. Who did you go to? Because maybe they might work. Right. Mine didn't work. Gail was funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was great.
So, question. If you had the chance to talk to Michelle Obama yourself, what would you say or ask? And I'm going to start with Kai.
Oh my God. What would I say or ask? I would definitely start by just like praising her, like, and thank yous and all that, because like you said, like I was really young when they got in office, and just like, just seeing Michelle on that platform and seeing her daughters too. Like, I love Obama, but for me, when I was young, it was always me looking at Michelle and her daughters. So like it was so just seeing that was amazing, and I would say that first. I don't like what I would ask her, can you guys come back to me? Like, let's
Yeah.
like, I have a lot of thoughts.
I don't know either, Kai. I'm sitting up here like, I don't know.
Like, I don't either. I'd probably just be in such awe of her. But I think part of what she talked about is being a box checker, and that's something that I've always done. And I would probably want to have more conversation and go more in depth about how did you just break out of being such a box checker and really just figure out how to just, create your own path and not feel like you got to check all these boxes in order to feel like you're successful. So I know that's probably something. And I would also tell her that the reason Barack Obama got my vote was because of her. I was like, if he married somebody like her, then he must be somebody.
Wow, that is very true. Because I used to always say, "Oh, he got a real black wife too. Like she's real black."
I started doing I'm a researcher. I was a political science major, so we started talking about Barack Obama in college.
Yeah,
like, he is the person to watch. And so my professors was like, he is the next something. And so we started talking about him when I was in college. And this was before, I think he had just became
in Senate.
Yeah, he was a state senator. And he did the Blue America, Red America, we the United States of America speech or whatever. And so we were like, so I had started learning about him, but when I saw his wife, I was like, who is she? And that's when I started really kind of looking, and I started looking at her, and I was like, wow, she's like me. So I was like, I really liked her.
And he left-handed too, Nikki.
Yes, left-handed.
Yes, oh my.
Oh my God, y'all too.
Are you really, Lord have mercy.
Martin Luther King Jr. is left-handed. Women's left-handed. Most of the presidents.
Did he have an Android?
Well, y'all remember when Barack
That's
first
why
came?
it's almost genius. Almost.
Right.
Once you get that iPhone, Nikki, you might be a genius.
Girl, you gonna be unstoppable.
If somebody buy me one, I'll use it.
Okay, well, never mind. We gonna pass.
Y'all
But I
pass
think
the
one of the
collection
big
plate
things,
to get an iPhone.
I think one of the biggest things, though, that I think everybody universally will just have the gratitude for her. Just, for, keeping her family sane through all this. And I know it had to be incredibly hard. Just the entire way you read the book, you just see the whole sentence. She's like, I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe we're in the White House now, But it's just really just gratitude for being in the White House, gratitude for just being this amazing example of a professional, a wife, a mother, it's just endless. I mean, a fashion icon, because let's just talk about that for a second too.
Right.
Like, I loved her stylist. She was just like, she is not a minimalist. Like, she goes there, and I love that she goes there, and I love all the designers, usually minorities.
Now she goes there, but she was saying,
well, even when she was in the White House, remember it was a whole controversy about her shoulders.
Right.
I mean, she did things that were not necessarily conventional. It was still straight laced, and she definitely goes there more now. But she got a lot of flack for some of her choices.
Oh yeah, because her official photograph that's hanging, they had a lot of flack because her arms were out.
But she put a lot of designers, people of color.
Jason Wu. I mean, just so many designers of color that she highlighted.
And talk about my clothes, then
Right. I got this platform. Let's do this.
Right. And that's exactly what she mentioned in the documentary as well. So I think another part of the documentary that kind of tugged at me is the fact that she recognizes the America that we do live in. When she mentioned, Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland and all the, that right there, that was another part that had me almost in tears, because like I said, she's real and she understands what we as a people are going through. You know what I'm saying?
Today, right now.
Exactly. Whereas the current president.
Well, she even when she kind of talked about that, about how we are where we are because so many of us didn't vote.
Right.
Oof.
And how she felt.
She said she felt
that she kind of felt let down.
Right.
And even though I voted, I feel like we all should be upset about that, because
Well, black
They
women,
did what they did
you know,
to
black
get in
women
that White
voted more
House.
than anybody. Black women voted more than anybody.
Yes.
She was talking about,
yes.
yeah, she was talking about Democrats. She said young people, women,
Yes.
white women did not vote.
Men.
And then we don't vote in midterms. You know,
Right.
everybody on the podcast, politics is local. You need to, at least you got to vote for your congressman. You got to vote for your commissioners, your board of education.
You got to vote for your school board.
Yes.
I mean,
because it affects you. President don't even really affect you as much, even though he's
you have to start and go all the way up.
And and it's showing right now when the federal government, when you need aid and stuff. But you know, we see what Kemp is doing. We out here.
That's a whole nother show.
that's a whole nother show. We don't even want to go there. This is a positive show because that's a headache. Okay.
I think if I were to meet Michelle, I would definitely be like the girl who just like all of a sudden started crying. I cried when I met Shamar Moore. I've cried when I meet a lot of people.
Shamar.
I would probably.
You cried when you met Shamar Moore?
Look, I think
agree with
everybody's
that.
face kind of did.
My mom,
Stacey,
I was in high school. My mom let me skip school, and I got to the
see
front of the line. I don't remember where I was. I was at the front of the line. He signed the thing, you know, gives you a hug, takes a picture, and then all of a sudden, my mom was like, "Oh my God!" If you know my mom, she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like,
"Girl, I got a picture with him too at the Soul Train Music Awards when I was in LA."
But I think I would be overcome with emotion. But one of the things that stuck out, and I would probably want to talk to her about, which I'm pretty sure I know the answer was every day. But you know, when she told the story in the documentary about how when the marriage equality bill was passed and they had the lights on the White House, yada, 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 she was trying to run out. And she was just like, I need to see this because I need to know what I'm doing. I needed some more validation. And just how often, like I said, I'm sure it's every day, but how often does she have to be intentional about seeing those things to keep herself, for lack of a better term, on the right track and moving forward when there were so many examples. Even when she discussed like the highs and the lows that day, the marriage equality situation passed. They were at a funeral for the people who had been shot up in Charleston and Bible study. So it's just, how often did you have to have those literal moments of, let me see something positive, and how hard was it to find?
Or balance. Literal balance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to balance the positive and the negative too.
I think where I'm at in my life right now, because like I said before, I think of her as just my girlfriend that I just can't call her, but we're girlfriends. And
girlfriend in my head.
You know, and I would ask her because, you know, my teenagers are almost out the door. I have one that's 8, so still got somebody here, but we're embarking on the next chapter. Yeah. You know, I'm really looking at, okay, so what do I do now? You know, I'm starting to have conversations about retirement on my job. Like, what does my next chapter look like? And she talks about in the book about how becoming isn't a final state. It's a continuous journey. And so that's what I think I would like to sit down and talk with her about if I had the opportunity just to sit down and talk to her.
Kind of what Erica was saying. She said in the documentary that what seems ordinary to you is your power. And that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, that was, definitely.
Because that
when she was speaking to that the young Hispanic girl.
Sorry about my sirens.
I was like, what happened?
No, you're right. But you know, I think that's exactly it. And whether she was talking to Black girls, that Hispanic girl, she was on an Indian reservation.
Right.
She went, you know, everywhere. She talked to
the
older people, younger people. It doesn't matter. People just really, you know, gravitate towards her because her message is really universal. Right. I mean, it just applies to everybody. And it's just I mean, like I said, I didn't get a whole lot from the Netflix special, but it was just nice to have her in my house again. I miss them so much.
Oh my God, I miss them so much. When they showed the clip of Barack coming out, and he's like, you know how Jay-Z come out at the Beyonce concert.
Well, look, I will say that I know we have all talked and shared how excited that we are that Barack will be delivering the commencement speech, and then there's going to be another. I think there's one May 16th and one June 6th that they were both both be speaking at. I will be in attendance. I did not get a college graduation from undergrad, so I'm going to consider this my graduation. I talked to Erica's my witness.
I need all of y'all to back up and let my baby from class of 2020.
Be there. I'm going to be there.
Baby is graduating from pre-K3. You're not getting a graduation. So we gonna all have a cap down all up in this house. Okay.
So dead.
Listen,
I found mine in the basement.
Erica was with me that day.
Yes.
Okay? I was in a sorority hall at the University of West Georgia, and these girls were crying.
In the laundry room.
And I was like, I'm not having graduation. And you're complaining about Mexicans? Like, what is happening? Like, it was a moment, okay? So this is about to be my experience. I would invite you over, but we're under quarantine still. I don't care what Kim says. So
thank you. Stay home.
Yes.
Stay home.
Well, I just think that between the book, the tour, the documentary, and all of the social media footage that we can possibly get our hands on, this has been a positive experience. I'm glad we got kind of like somewhat of a refresh. Because, like I said, it's been a year since we've seen the tour. So I am just grateful for the release. Thank you to Netflix. Thank you to my Wi-Fi.
Right.
So let me ask this in closing, because I know we're going to wrap up here soon. If you could, and this is going to take everybody a hot second to kind of think, but you know, at the end where they were like, I am becoming, and they would give who they're becoming or what they want to become.
Oh Lord, you should have asked us this at the beginning, so I could
talk
about it.
No, let me take a sip of coffee real quick.
Are we sure that's coffee?
This is the Love Chat podcast. I know ain't no coffee in that cup.
It is, I promise.
Coffee with Bailey's.
Nope.
I was trying to be nice, y'all, because we had Kai on, and so I put my drink in a nice little cup because I didn't want to drink out the bottle. So
college. She's in college.
I think she's in college.
Yeah, she's in college.
Kai said right. Kai was like, right.
My freshman year, the grinders were taking off. I lived a very sheltered, naive life. Got to college.
Hello.
Ready?
Hello, world.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
We just want to invite Stacey back. Okay.
Go, Marcia.
I know you.
Yeah, go, Marcia.
I'm the one offering the question. That means I don't have to go first.
Who told you that?
But I will say I am becoming free. And I say that because I'm going right now into changing career paths. And I feel like this weight is being lifted off of me. So right now I feel like I'm becoming free.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Simple.
Okay.
I am becoming intentional.
That's
Oh,
good.
that was my word.
That's good. That's good.
What was it? 2018, 2020, 19?
2019.
That's Nikki's going next because she's.
Well, I am becoming non-complacent. I talk about it all the time. I say I've been complacent a lot lately. I'm trying to become non-complacent.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting that Kai talked about, discovering who she is and where her place is in the world. Because if you ask me, I would say I am becoming Erica, because I spent my life being somebody's child, being somebody's wife, being somebody's mother. Now I'm at the point where, okay, I'm literally, I've had conversations like, okay, so what am I doing for Erica? What does Erica enjoy? What does she want to do now that, there's some things that are opening up to me? So I think that's where I would just literally say it. I'm becoming Erica and learning what all of that means. And I'm probably twice your age, but that's more. But that's where I'm at in my point in life right now.
Kai.
Okay. I guess I would say I am becoming present, meaning like I'm not like I'm no longer like longing for like who I used to be or like, too caught up in who I'm becoming. I'm just like I'm myself right now, and like I'm trusting like, in the process, and I'm trusting in myself, and I'm trusting in the present moment that, I'm gonna get where I need to be. So
in the moment.
Awesome.
I love
That's
it.
awesome.
Good.
I love it.
I'm present too. I'm trying to be.
I I am becoming patient.
Oh, I got a long way to go.
Love is
I said becoming.
I'm leaning back in now.
I'm becoming patient. I mean, I think if anything, what Rona has taught us is that, you really can't control everything around you. And I tend to be a little bit of a control freak. And so just being patient, letting what will be, and rolling with it, we're gonna be all right. So, I'm becoming, it's a process, patient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aw, well, this has been a great episode.
It's been great.
Yes. Thank you to our guest.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Come back next week.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Don't want to talk about that.
Thank you.
Y'all were all nervous for nothing. But we do want to remind all of our listeners and our watchers that are on YouTube to please vote. We're going to have an episode on that too. But vote. Get out and vote for everything, like Nikki said.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies, that's going to do it. What'd you say?
Blue wave. Vote the blue wave.
All right, ladies, that's going to do it for this Minisode of the Love Chat podcast. I want to remind all of our listeners to please follow us on all social media platforms at the Love Chat podcast. And don't forget to push that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube, rate and review. Until next time.
Bye.